Frost has finally gotten himself some love with the Jade Shadows update alongside the cold status effect, so our perfect little Iceman is going to be having an abundance of energy, Overguard, and of course so much crowd controlling and red crits you are going to be simply baffled. So if that sounds interesting, let's quickly get into the video. So, Cold and, of course, Frost have gotten themselves a couple of changes. First of all, let's start off with the Cold changes. We have 10 stacks instead of 9. We used to have maximum of 9, now we have 10. That's pretty cool. And now at 10 stacks, you will freeze an enemy for 3 seconds, and they will be able not to recharge their shields, and, of course, they will take double critical damage. So that is very, very nice. But Frost has been changed in different little ways. So let's start off with his passive. His, of course, Cold status effects last 100% longer, and you also gain 50 armor per enemy affected by cold within 15 meters. Now, this could be either through abilities and or weapons, so you can use either or, so that is going to be very nice. And one augment mod that we're going to be using is going to be Biting Frost. This is going to give us 200% critical chance and critical damage against the frozen enemies, so that is very, very nice. Utilize this mod. And now, let's move on to the first ability. Here, we have Freeze. This, you throw down a ball that freezes enemies, applies cold, and usually most likely it is 10 stacks. The more you throw, the more you stack, the better it is, and of course the more armor you're going to gain inside of those 15 meters, so keep that in mind. We are going to be using something called Freeze Force. This is an augment mod which will give us additional cold damage on our weapons, and when you hold down this ability you will be able to activate the augment itself, so that's pretty cool. Ice Wave is the second ability. You summon a wave of ice and it, stabs enemies, and it's pretty cool and does cold damage. It looks awesome, but we're gonna, I guess, wave this ability away and use Ensnare. Ensnare is a much better ability for this kit because crowd controlling is very important, and Ensnare is one of the best crowd controlling abilities out there. But Snowglobe is sort of, I guess, one of the best defensive abilities. I mean, it matches the last sentence, so I guess I'll use it. It summons a Snowglobe that of course protects you and everything else from the outside elements. It pushes enemies away, doing a lot of damage, and when you do pop it with your first ability, you will be of course able to do cold damage. And now the good thing is they finally changed that you can shoot through both sides, so that is amazing. We love to see that. And then Avalanche is going to be her fourth ability. You throw your hands up in the air like you just don't care and do a lot of cold damage and fully armor stripping the enemies with today's build. And alongside Icy Avalanche, the augment mod, we will be able to gain Overguard based on our power strength and also armor. So once we are talking about that, let's quickly, before we go to the build, talk about, I guess, well, that. Now, what we're going to be doing is, I will be demonstrating on screen right now, apply as much cold as you possibly can to as many enemies as you possibly can, use Ensnare, bring them close, and then gain a lot of Overguard with your fourth ability. That is basically the best way to gain a lot of Overguard. Of course, the more power strength you have and the more armor you have, the better it's going to be, but of course, that is one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind. One other thing, of course, the most important thing, it is going to be the actual build. For the actual build, growing power in the aura slot, cunning drift for range, we have Archon flow, which is going to give us even more energy, transient fortitude, freeze force, umbral intensify, icy avalanche, biting frost, equilibrium, overextended, molt augmented, and then arcane ice storm, which is going to give us ability strength and also duration for 15 seconds, stacking up to 20 times, basically 40%, which is going to be very, very nice. This is a new arcane that just came out, so I wanted to test it out a little bit, and honestly, with this build, I'm able to gain so much energy. It is literally incredible. You do not even need any other way of gaining energy. Archon flow, I guess you could technically change it out for stretch, and then what you can do is give more Archon shards that give you energy, but using Archon flow on side Frost is going to be very, very nice. Now, we have covered all of that. We want to cover the Archon shards, and now, one thing that I'm very happy about is I honestly do not need a lot of them. I have 2 for casting speed, 1 Tau Forged, one normal one, and then 1 blue one giving me 225 armor. Now, that one you necessarily do not need. Why did I put it on there? Because I wanted additional armor. Do you need it? No. What are the 2 empty slots? You can put any other arcane that you think he needs. Honestly, with this setup and everything like this, I do not find any sort of need for any more Archon shards. Maybe a yellow Tau Forged Archon instead of basic one, but it is what it is. I don't honestly think you need that much because of Madurai. Yes, the focus school of choice, where we use, of course, sling strength for additional 40% power strength when we sling around, and then power transfer, of course, casting speed. 50% casting speed when you switch from your operator to your Warframe, and you are pretty much done and dusted, and that yellow shard is definitely not needed. The weapons are, though, and one of the best weapons that you might be seeing in the gameplay is the lens. This weapon is simply amazing. It is the Prisma Lenz, keep that in mind, but you can use either one variant. Some other weapons that, of course, you can use are going to be AoE weapons, preferably that do cold damage and or some other damage type, but try to put in cold there because it's going to work very, very nicely. Of course, you can always use corrosive and viral and slash and stuff like that, but the lens looks like this. We have Vital Sense, Galvanized Chamber, Prime Cryo Rounds, Critical Delay, we have Hunter Munitions, Prime Bane of Hurricane, Violent Acceleration, Prime Firestorm, Vigilante Supplies, and of course Primary Merciless. Now, with this, I honestly think you do not need anything else. Everything's gonna pretty much die when you fully armor ship it, gain a lot of power strength, upgrade, and boost yourself your damage, of course with your first ability, and you're pretty much done and dusted. One thing that's very cool is the primer. The secondary of choice is the Epitaph. We have Augur Seeker, Galvanized Diffusion, Gunslinger, Carnage Stinger, Deep Freeze, Frostbite, Lethal Torrent, Augur Pact, Lethal Momentum, and then secondary Shiver. Enemies take 30% damage per cold status effect, so 10 times, and if this was a rank 5 arcane it would be even better, but with this you're going to be able to do even more damage. I don't necessarily use it in the gameplay because I don't necessarily find it needed inside of, I guess, 180, 200 level enemies, but later down the line it could definitely be quite useful. Because you do have the Epitaph, you do have a little bit of priming but a little bit less status effect. Do not use condition overload builds on your melee weapons, which gets me back to melee weapons. I don't use any. I mean, use the Okina Prime. I don't necessarily think the build's needed, but here you go. This is if you want to see it, and that's pretty. You're never almost gonna touch your melee weapon. It's not gonna be important, so I guess you don't really need to know it. But the companion of choice is my Panzer Profiler. I honestly don't need Nautilus because you already have crowd controlling through and snare. Worm is pretty much not needed. You can use sort of anything that you really want to. I guess you could use the Advaza Kavat. I forgot her name. The Advaza Kavat. You can use, of course, the Smita Kavat. You can use the Panzer Profiler like I do, and that's basically going to be it. And now, how are you gonna play this build? Well, first of all you basically need to do is just ensnare a couple of enemies, kill them, gain a little bit of energy, and just basically use your 4 armor ship enemies, of course prime them with your first ability and or with any sort of cold primer that you have. Your lenses or your primary weapon is going to be mainly here for damage, so try not to pick a status weapon, just keep that in mind because this is going to be killing the Acolyte as well. But basically just apply a lot of cold, gain a lot of overguard, have a lot of energy, nuke as many enemies as you possibly can, ensnare them, and that's basically it. That's how you have fun with, of course, the Iceman Frost. And that is pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, do leave a like. It is always appreciated by me. Comment down below because I'm very interested in what you guys think of the build, and do subscribe for more because I do try to make interesting builds for you guys, and also a little bit cheaper so a lot of people can get it. I love every single one of you. This has been the Gaming Weasel, over and out.